Okay guys, so here goes. The daunting 20 questions of the Vinyl Tag 2019. I promised myself if I didn't get it done by the end of January, I was just going to skip it this year. So here goes my effort, and not only that, I'm going to try and get it in 20 minutes. Here we go. No further fooling around. Number one is my best find of 2018, and that's an easy one for me. It is Delta Swamp Rock, and this has a bunch of different artists, compilation. I've got a funny story about how I went about finding it. It was record store day, and it was my first record store day, so I was super excited about participating. But I had a business conference that was going to keep me tied up all day. So I managed to sneak out for lunch and make the nearest record store, but sure enough, everything I really wanted was gone. I got a couple things that were kind of on my secondary list, but I was pretty bummed out about the whole thing, how the whole thing went. So I'm going around the store, turning the corner, and a couple albums caught my eye. I got one of them, and this one, you know, I know some of the artists, Allman Brothers, Bobby Gentry, several others, and it looked interesting to me. The cover looked interesting, so I went, what the hell, I didn't spend much money here, let's go ahead and get this. Didn't think too much about it until I got home, but it's really a pretty extraordinary record. Great songs, great performances.
So Shoutouts. Yeah, this seems like one that a lot of people struggled with. For me, I kind of made it cut and dried. I don't know that many people personally yet, although I sure plan on doing so in the future. But I just went through my list of subscriptions, and everybody that I'd subscribed to that had less than 100 likes or subscriptions were the ones that I am going to go ahead and recommend. Obviously, I saw something in them, and I hope you do too. I don't have holes in my collection because I don't have a collection. So instead, I'll show you my Discogs wants.
A cheap album that's really good. Are you kidding me? There is only one I could mention here, and that is Michael Kamen and the New York Rock Ensemble. You really can't go wrong with any of their albums as far as I'm concerned, but this is the very best. If you find it, pick it up. Where else are you going to hear a rock band that features an oboe? A side project album. This one is tough for me in that I don't have that many from 2018, so I'm going to show one that I think a lot of other people have too. This is Jack White playing with the Raconteurs, and like many people, I don't know whether this is really considered a side project. Another thing about this one is it's on Jack White's label, Third Man Records, and it sounds fabulous. Again, recommended. A song from an artist that's uncharacteristic for their catalog of material. This is going to be another 70s band for me, another one that I was infatuated with at the time. This is Don Ellis. The album's name is Soaring, and the song on it is Image of Maria. Don Ellis, if you don't know him, is a flugelhorn player, played some trumpet as well, fronted a band that did a lot of stuff in strange meters and so on, basically jazz rock. Last album I purchased, Maisy Star, Among My Swan. This is an excellent album. I'm kind of late to the party. I've only recently discovered Maisy Star, and was really excited to get this. However, this particular album is a terrible pressing. It's plain recordings, and I think that's doing it way too much of a nicety. It sucks, basically. So get a different pressing, but it's a great album. good album with a bad cover. I really only picked this one up because I was curious about Sheffield Records. I knew they're considered a premium label, and so I wanted to check that out. I don't much care for Whitney Houston, so I was going to pass it by that way. Only when I got it home did I realize it's Thelma Houston instead, and it's a magnificent album. Sheffield Records definitely does a great job, but I think this cover is terrible. A bad album with a cool cover. Well, this is a trend that cracks me up. It goes back to the 60s, actually, and is just so blatantly obvious, and it worked super well. All our parents had albums like this, and of course they were into it for the music. So here you go. What a cover, right? And the music absolutely sucks. There is no reason musically for you to listen to it. It's kind of elevator music waiting to happen. Buy it for the picture. A blues album. Going to talk about another one that I didn't think I was going to like, or didn't like the artist, I thought. This is a Bonnie Raitt album. It's a live album, double album, that I picked up for 25 cents, and it turned me around. I now like Bonnie Raitt.
I've been driving all night, my hands wet on the wheel.
A historically important artist. This is one that I hope I'm wrong on. I hope someone will comment if I am. I'm going to go with Joe Cocker. And the reason I'm going with him is I think, at least in my mind, he is the earliest person I know to be a rock star and have a physical disability. It's a historical precedent, but one I wish would have been followed up on much more than it has been. An album you own because of your parents. Come on. My name is Glenn Miller. Can I put anything else up here but this? I'm going to go in a direction a little bit different than what was intended, I think, with the best dollar bin find. I'm not going to talk about value. Frankly, I don't know about value most of the time. So what I'm going to pull out here is Toto. And the reason is I didn't really, I knew of the band, but I didn't know their music, and this was my introduction, and I'm very glad I got it. Had to do some digging around to find a favorite double album. Not that I don't have a lot of double albums, I think we all do, but it's because, they're reissued as double albums. They weren't intended as double albums to start with. So I finally found one that I knew was a traditional double album from back in the day, and man, I used to play this one like crazy with some of my friends. Jesus Christ Superstar. Great, great music, no matter what your religious beliefs. There's a number of albums I found out about on the VC. That's one of my favorite things about it, is finding out about new music. So I'll just have to pick one, but I got to thank a whole bunch of people for albums that I've gotten over this past year. The one I chose, because I haven't talked about it, is this one by Miko. I have it as a CD, obviously, but I recently found out that there is an album version of it, and I might go ahead and pick that up as well. This is a binaural recording, which I've talked about some elsewhere and probably will talk about again. But it's basically a set of microphones, two microphones, pretty much done in one take. and without EQ, without compression, anything like that. Pretty interesting technique and one I love. "10-inch record is easy because I only have one 10-inch record, and this is it. I picked it up because it was Blue Note, and I'd always heard about how great Blue Note was, and I didn't have one. Saw this one and picked it up, and I love the music. Blue Note seems to be as good as everything I've heard about it. I've got a couple since then, but they are not musically to my taste nearly as much as this one is. 7-inch is easy. I don't have one. I never was a big collector of 45s. I think I could count on one hand the 45s I've had over the years. I can remember a Bee Gees one, the mining disaster one. I had Hey Jude by the Beatles. Man, that's all I can think of right now. I was not a big 45 buyer whatsoever, so can't help it. Favorite album to fall asleep to? Okay, so this is one I gotta say a little bit something about. I do not want to fall asleep to vinyl record albums. I reserve vinyl record albums for active listening and active listening only, so falling asleep to one would be completely contrary to what I want to be about. But one that I don't think is available on vinyl, and one that I do love to fall asleep to and do use a lot of times when I've got a hard time falling asleep, is Adieu False Heart by Linda Ronstadt and Anne Savoy. I can't really talk about advice from a experienced person's perspective because I'm not one, but I've been listening, been watching for a long time, and I do have an opinion that way. I would like to see focused and short recordings. I don't like, I won't watch anything over about 20 minutes unless I'm really, really interested in the subject matter. I know Poetry on Plastic has one teaching you about classical music that goes, I think, an hour and 30 minutes, and I have watched that, although I broke it up into 2 sessions. Anyway, I think entries need to be short, to the point, because I think that's what YouTube is all about. I don't want to make a long-term commitment to one single one, even if I sit there for 3 or 4 hours watching different videos. This has been fun, guys. Thanks.